Thank you, Lynn. As far as announcements, the main one is that we will not be meeting at our regular time next week. We are going to be joining on the 1st of December with Valley Mills for our musical program with Tom Roberts and friends, and that's at 10:30 next Sunday. Now, we'll be on Zoom, so the link will still be the same, and I'll send it out, but the time will be different. So just be aware of that it'll be at 10:30 instead of 9:30. I don't think I'm not aware of any other announcements. If friends have any, you're welcome to share them now. Joys and concerns to share?
Well, we had to go to two different funeral homes this past week and a half. I'm sorry I missed church last Sunday. Just so happens two kids were killed in car accidents that were my old 4-H kids. And Neil Pash Jr. was a 4-H'er. And I don't know if you folks remember Chuck's Market, but that Neil Pash was Chuck's nephew. And Mia Stevens, and that hits very close to home as well. Both were my 4-H kids. Mia was 22 and Neil was, I think, 26.
Well, some of you know I have a good friend who lives in Northern California, Donna Smith. She's come to different things online. Santa Rosa is just getting flooded again. 5 years ago, it was wildfires wiped out half the town. And now they're having severe flooding. So they even had to close the hospital at one end of town because it's just underwater. So we might remember the folks out there in the floods They're getting 5 months of rain in 3 days.
Wow.
Well, last week, and I can't remember exactly which day it was, but in front of Decatur Central High School, one of the teachers, he was a second year teacher, was ready to turn in at the high school, and a semi ran the light and hit him. He was in an old pickup truck. The semi, when I saw pictures of it, was on top of the truck. And the teacher, of course, was critically injured. He's still in the hospital. He's still trying to recover. He's in the intensive care unit, but we need to keep Mr. Cross in our prayers too, that he will have a recovery.
Well, let us hold these things in God's eternal light and love and healing light. I forgot to mention, I do have a friend of mine, former chairman of the board at Wilmington College, who I hadn't seen for years until I joined the board. She had been in my youth group in Hillsboro, Ohio, as a child, well, a teenager. But she's undergoing open heart surgery tomorrow. So Peggy's her name. You could remember Peggy. So let's lift all these things to God, and also at this time of Thanksgiving, give some gratitude for all the blessings that surround us. And one of them certainly is this group itself, that we get to worship together and be together and continue our tradition of being together as friends since the 19th century. So Chip is our worship leader this morning, so he will lead as he feels led. And
Well, that song that Lynn played this morning was Love Will Guide Us. And she wasn't familiar with it, and she thought maybe I should read a couple of verses. And if you have Worship in Song, it's on page 243. I'll read the first verse and the last. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the dark night. Hear the song of peace within you. Heed the song of peace in your heart. Spring's new beginning shall lead to the harvest. Love will guide us on our way. I had to use a magnifying glass because it's print so little.
Now sing the first verse, Chip.
Brent doesn't like me to sing. Well, my message today, I started out, my message was going to be about all the money that was spent on the campaign and how I thought it could certainly been used other better ways. But I changed my mind. And sometimes my message, when I give them, I find that maybe the message is really more for me, that I learned something from it. Um, and I was questioning my faith with God, and this message helped me to reconnect. So, good morning, friends. Don't worry, be happy. Have you ever started something and all of a sudden you realized that you wanted to go in another direction? Well, that's what happened to me. A woman named Taffany changed my mind. I would like to start with Hebrews 13:2. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing. With the state of the country, I found myself in deep depression and bursting into tears spontaneously. Now, let me explain. I'm not a crying person. Growing up, my father told me it was a sign of weakness and males do not cry. I remember being told at my great-grandmother's funeral, I was 12 at the time, to stop crying as it was making it hard on everyone else. I pulled myself together and only allowed myself to cry in a dark movie theater. But suddenly, I found myself crying. Anything would bring it on. I was at Troy's house, and he had the TV on, and a commercial came on about an asthma medication and how this guy had old meds, and it was like a dinosaur and was always with him. In the end, he gets new meds, waves goodbye to the dinosaur, and I just burst into tears because I found that commercial so sad. Troy told me that as long as he had known me, which is over 35 years, he had never seen me cry, not even at my mother's funeral. He said that I needed to see my doctor, and so I did. My doctor ran me through tests for depression and anxiety. I went from 0, the last time I'd taken the test, to a score of 18, and the top score was 20. She increased my medicine, and I go back to see her at the end of next month to see how I'm doing. Of course, I still worry and am afraid to venture too far from home. Now, it all started last week when I went with Troy to the hospital where he is having tests done. I always drive him as his car isn't working, and I have met all his doctors. When the test was finished, we went to an office to check out and for Troy to make another appointment. We went over to this lady's desk and we waited for her to finish whatever she was doing. She had little post-it notes everywhere, and they all had to do with worry. Troy read one and said, I really should stop all the worrying. And I replied, how can I stop? Because I'm so good at it. Troy told the lady at the desk that I worried about everything. Her name was Taffany. She turned toward me, removed her face mask. She was beautiful, looking like an angel. I just looked at her and she said, stop worrying because it's a sin. She didn't say it with a hateful tone, but with one that was truly kind. She talked to me about worry does no good and how it's hard on me. Taffany was busy, but she took the time to talk with me. She was truly a caring person. And as we left, I asked her name, and I said I really would try to stop worrying. On the way home, Troy and I talked about Taffany, and I said maybe I should do a message called Don't Worry, Be Happy, like the reggae song from Bob Marley. Now, if you're not familiar with the song, it starts like this. Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry, be happy. In every life we have some trouble, but when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. Well, when I got back home, I looked up what the Bible had to say about worry. And here are some of what I found. Matthew 6:27. Can any one of you worry by worrying add a single hour to your life? Well, let me tell you, I worry a lot. I must have worried 1,000 hours and wasted it. Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. This is hard for me because I do worry a lot about tomorrow and the future. Luke 12:26. Since you cannot do this little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Now, this is something I found on the internet. Is Worrying a Sin by Shelby Turner. And she says, worry that keeps us from obediently following God and his word is sin. Worry that leads us to unbelief in God, his word, is sin. Worry that leads to distrust in God is sin. She also added, don't sweep your fears under a rug in the embarrassed attempt to hide them. Instead, drag them out into the light, just as Philippians 4:6 tells us to do. Make your requests known to God so that his peace, not your wisdom, may guide your heart and mind. And I found this in the book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Time-Tested Methods of Conquering Worry by Dale Carnegie. I found these quotes. 2 men looked out from prison bars. One saw mud, one saw stars. And today is the most precious possession. It is our only sure possession. And let's never try to get even with your enemies, because if you do, you will hurt yourself far more than you hurt them. Let's do as General Eisenhower does. Let's never waste a minute thinking about people we don't like. And another, a good deed, said the Prophet Muhammad, is one that brings a smile and joy to the face of another. Why will doing a good deed every day produce such astonishing efforts on the doer? Because trying to please others will cause us to stop thinking about ourselves. Excuse me. The very thing that produces worry and fear and melancholy. And here's my favorite. When I asked Mr. Henry Ford if he ever worried, he replied, no, I believe God is managing affairs and that he doesn't need any advice from me. With God in charge, I believe that everything will work out for the best in the end. So what is there to worry about? To sum things up, in my mind, Tiffany, maybe she was an angel, was there for me to give me a message from God to stop the worry and put my faith back into him. This is what I am trying to do. As my mother always said, let go and let God. I'm still concerned about the state of our country. I will live through the next 4 years, not with worry or fear, but with hope and love. I would like to close with the immortal words of Judy Garland. Forget your troubles, come on and get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on and get happy. Get ready for the judgment day. May the light of God surround you. May the love of God enfold you. May the power of God protect you. And may the presence of God watch over you. For wherever you are, God is.
But Chip, if you won't sing the first verse, I will give it a try. Even if I don't have exact words. Love will guide us, peace will try us. With thee through the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the dark night. I didn't have all the words correct, but I don't have it in front of me.
Well, thank you.
It's a beautiful hymn.
Thank you, Chip and Lynn, for your offerings this morning. We'll now continue with more unprogrammed worship. We know folks have to leave. We wish you a blessed Thanksgiving week and hope to see you next Sunday. So let's continue with worship.
Thank you, Chip and Lynn.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you.
Thank you for your message, Chip. It's taken me down a path of the fine line between worrying and wonderment. I do ceramics and I'll spend 30, 40 hours on a piece. And yes, I do have worries, but it's the wonderment that keeps me driving. And I thought that the difference between worrying and wonderment is the absence of God in worrying. And in wonderment, He is always present and keeps you moving forward. So as I sit here worrying about if I'm using the right words to express this, there's a bit of wonderment if others have the same thoughts.
Thank you.
A while back, in a podcast, I heard a rabbi talking about um, how Adam on the first night must have been so terribly afraid and grieved, not knowing that the day would come again. She told the story from the perspective of Eve to say that Eve's job in a way was to be present for him and to be and with her love to be a comfort and to share in his grief. And not long ago I read something, and I don't know, I think it was at the Friends of Silence, I don't know, great website anyway, where they have a lot of different quotes from different people, and one of them was about how even should we be absolutely know that the end of the world is nigh, the world as we know it, there will still be opportunities for love and service. And I kind of think that Chip's message has really made me think more deeply on those things, and to think not only, are there opportunities, but it is incumbent on me to feel as much joy as possible in the things in which God rejoices, instead of, focusing on things that seem more shiny object to me, to see where I can be of love and service.
Chip, thank you for sharing your words of enlightenment. For me, the two main points that have spiritually worked for me were the God serenity prayer and making God my BFF.
If all hearts are clear, we'll close worship for this morning.